Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. I'm the owner of Crochet Companions. It's my small crochet business, and in today's video I just wanted to talk about some of my favorite yarns that I use. If you want your plushies to have the same texture as all these cuties, keep watching the video and I'll show you guys what yarn I use and what it's called and where it's from as well. Okay, so the brand is Premier. My favorite one that I like to use is Premier Parfait Chunky. I know they have like Premier Parfait like XL or super chunky, whatever, but this one is my favorite to use just because I feel like it's the perfect size, and I make most of my plushies with this yarn, and it also comes in so many cute colors. Like this is one of my favorites. It's the pink and it's called Bubblegum, and they also have a lighter pink that I love using. This is the lighter pink. I forget what it's called, but it works really well to add on like cute rosy cheeks to different plushies. And here's the comparison between the two colors. And they also actually sell Premier yarn at the dollar store, which I did not think they would have there. And I recently found it, and they have a bunch of different colors. This is just one of them. It's the brown one I have, and the color name is Cocoa. And it's a little bit thinner than the chunky, but it still works really well, and I still love like the texture and everything, and I feel like it doesn't actually fray that much. Like some of the other yarns I use from Michael's or Joann's fray, like even though they're cheaper, that's expected, but these are still really high quality, and this is only $1, and it's a small skein, but it works really well, and you're getting your money's worth for just $1. This is more of the Dollar Tree or dollar store. I forget if it's like Dollar General, Dollar Tree, whatever, but these are more of the colors that they have. They probably have more too. Like I think they have pink and stuff, but this is what I needed because I already have a lot of the Premier Parfait Chunky pink. So I got these. Each skein was only $1, and honestly I think it's really worth it. The quality is still just as good as the yarn that you buy off the Premier website. This brown bunny here is made with the dollar store yarn, and I think it came out so cute. And when I compare it to the Premier Parfait Chunky, I feel like they're very similar. It's the same exact pattern, same hook size and everything, and honestly, there's not much of a difference. They're both super soft, and one of the skeins of yarn was just cheaper than the other. But I mean, Premier isn't the only good brand or brand that you could use. One of the bigger things I make with the Premier Parfait Chunky yarn is the Chunky Love Cats, and honestly, this didn't even take up a whole skein of yarn. Like I think it was only half of a skein, and this is a solid size plushie. Premier doesn't just have the chunky either, like I said earlier. They also have like a bunch of different types. Like I think there's one called like Pixie Dust or something, and it's super fluffy, which I'm definitely gonna try. Even though this yarn frays a decent amount, I love using it. It's cheaper than Premier. It comes in a huge skein, and the brand is Loops and Threads. I get this at Michael's, and this is the yarn that I use for my leggy froggies. And it works really well. You just kind of have to be delicate with like the ends, because otherwise the fuzz will get everywhere. But it's basically the same size as the, it's a little bit bigger than the Premier Parfait Chunky, but I still use the same hook size and it works just as well. As a beginner, this was what I used just because I felt like it was easier to see my stitches with the bigger yarn than with the Premier Parfait Chunky. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely recommend this. As an example, here is my leggy froggy that I made using that Loops and Threads green yarn. And obviously the bow is made out of an acrylic yarn, which I also got from Michael's, but I can't remember the brand because I don't have like the label for it anymore. But I feel like any acrylic yarn would work well for the bow. But this is the green yarn. It's super fluffy, and I feel like all the fluffy yarns have the same exact texture. So if that's what you're looking for, I feel like any brand works, but the quality is just different. One of my favorite chunky white yarns that I use is the Bernat blanket, and it's a lot thicker than the Premier Parfait Chunky, and it makes the plushies feel a little bit more dense and less squishy, but it's still super soft. And I believe it's also cheaper than Premier, and this can be found at either Joann's or Michael's. I think I get it at both, but this is the brand. So I actually make my bunnies using the Bernat blanket yarn, and as you can see, it's like, I mean, this one's kind of squishy because I used less polyfill in it, but it's just the like yarn itself is a bit more dense and it's also chunkier, so it makes bigger plushies. Obviously this pattern was for a bigger plushie, but if I used Parfait chunky, it would be a little bit smaller. But I like how sturdy the yarn is, so it's good for plushies that need to like sit up like this. If I had to say what my favorite brand was, I would definitely say Premier. I just feel like the quality is the best out of all of them because they don't really fray like the others. Like, for example, this is the green yarn that I use for my froggies, and I don't know if you can tell, but it really just like comes off really easily. Ooh. Like, and then it has these like strings in the middle, and this could get kind of annoying. So, I mean, even though it is cheaper and it's still easy to use, it's just annoying to have these little fuzzies all over the floor. As you can see, I'm a huge fan of Premier Parfait Chunky. I usually order these 3-packs in it. And I mean, even though the skeins seem small, they actually last me a long time because I'm not making massive plushies with them. If you're a beginner, I would say if you're willing to spend a little bit more, get Premier Parfait Chunky. And then if you want to spend a little bit less, I think you just go to your local Joann's, Michael's, like whatever craft store, and buy like almost any brand that has the like texture that you want. If you guys are wondering about the patterns I use for all the plushies you see in the background or whatever I showed today, I have another video on all of those, and it includes the links in the description if you want to try them out. They're not my patterns, but I do modify them slightly. But the video will be linked over here if you want to go check it out. And thank you guys so much. This video was short, but I just wanted to recommend some of my favorite types of yarn.